Hi guys, so by now you should have your decimal booklet put together. We are now going to spend some time, let's get this straightened out here. We are now going to spend some time filling out a couple pages and doing the first two tabs, the decimal concepts and the adding decimals tab today. So I want you to open up to your first page, the decimal concepts. Some of these topics on here we are not going to be worrying about in this unit. We are only on this page going to fill in this top place value box, just because these are so important to know when you are lining up the decimals to add them together, subtract them, and divide them. So you'll notice that there is the number 549.248 or 0.248. We're going to look at where the decimal point is here. And let's fill in the boxes with the names of these places where these numbers are located. So this place value right here, we're going to start with the whole number side first. This we're going to turn to the side. And if you need to pause this video throughout the video to copy down the notes, please do so. The 9 is located in the ones place. So go ahead and copy down the ones. This digit next to it, the 4, is located in the tens place. And the 5 is located in the hundreds place. Okay, now let's go to the other side of the decimal point. So now, kind of similar to this pattern here, except for this guy is kind of an oddball in the place value system. If you only have one digit after your decimal point, this digit is considered to be in the tenths place. Make sure that you know that it has the THS at the end and not just the tens like it is up here. So now the pattern is going to follow pretty similarly to how it would on this side of the decimal point, but down here. This 4 is now located in the hundredths place. And the 8 is located in the thousands, then THS place. Okay, this part down here is talking about estimating with decimals, and that's going to come in handy if you were estimating with it. We're not going to spend much time on that part of this unit this year. So I'm going to have you flip to the adding decimals tab, which is the next tab in your booklet. So the function of these little booklets is to always have the process of how to solve these problems in whatever unit we are working on, and they have them right there in front of you. You are able to use these booklets on any homework assignment, on tests and quizzes that we have in here, and even projects if we have projects in math class. So when we are adding decimals, I know you've worked on this in the past, but we're going to revisit it a little bit. When you are adding decimals, your first important thing to do is to line up the decimals vertically. Okay, so I'm going to solve this example down here, and I'm going to only solve it matching the step that we are on up here. So now I'm going to rewrite this problem down here, and I'm going to line up my decimal points vertically. You cannot add or subtract decimals unless your decimal point is lined up. It will not work. So I wrote down my first number here, and then I'm going to line up my decimals by writing in that second number down here. So I know that this number 2 is in the same place value as the 4 in here. So I'm going to line that up, and then my decimal points line up because they are both in the ones place. Now I'm going to finish copying down the rest of this second number. So my tenths place, my 0 is in the tenths in this number, and my 5 is in the tenths in that number. So those line up with each other. Then my 9 lines up right underneath the 6. And now you'll notice that this number over here actually has one more digit than the number up on top. And we are going to still line it up with, if we were to have a digit up here, it would be in that spot next. Then I'm going to put my line underneath, and we will go on to the next step up here. So now kind of think about this 3 and where it is when we're filling in this next part of the notes up here. So when you have a space that does not line up with any of the numbers in the other number, okay, just like this 3, we kind of are missing something here. We need to add zeros to fill in empty place values. There always needs to be something in the place value for as many digits as you have in the numbers. So we're going to fill in a 0 right here. That's what we filled in. That was optional. You don't always need to have the 0 at the end of your digits, but in order to add, we need that 0 in there. All right, then our next step up here is to add. Okay, so now we're going to go straight down and we're going to add each column up. And we may need to borrow on some of these, so please revisit that if you need to. So now we're going to add 0 plus 3 gives me 3. 6 plus 9 gives me 15, but because that's greater than 10, I need to bring the 10s up here and leave the 1s part of that number down here. So now I have 1 plus 5 plus 0, that gives me 6. Bring down my decimal point. Okay, so 0.653 is going to be my last digits after the decimal point. And now I have 4 plus 2, and that gives me 6. My new answer then becomes 6.653. So as you are adding, you're going to bring down your decimal point into your answer in the same exact spot. Everything should line up with each other. And also this way. So it kind of looks like a big tic-tac-toe grid. Okay, I'm going to have you flip over to the other side of this adding decimals page. And we're going to copy down a few more examples onto this side so you have them with you. Now, some problems are a little bit easier than others. Some of them do not necessarily need a whole lot of adding zeros into places, but some do. So some have the exact same amount of digits and some don't, and it just depends on the problem. I'm going to give you this problem here. Number 1, and let's add 47.6 plus 4.5. Okay, our first order of business is to, if we go back to our notes here, line up the decimals vertically. So now flipping back, I'm going to put my 2 decimal points in first. And I know that this first number is going to go on top. My 7 is the first number to the left of my decimal point, and then my 4 goes here. And then my 6 is going to go after the decimal point. Find the decimal point in this number here. My 4 is the first number after that, and then my 5 is after that. Okay, so now we need to fill in our zeros for our empty spaces, which is our next rule in adding decimals. And now we're going to add. So we're going to do 6 plus 5. That gives me 11. Bring down my decimal point. I now add 1 plus 7 plus 4. That's going to give me 12. And now I have 1 plus 4 plus 0. That's going to give me 5. So my answer would be 52.1, and I would box my answer. All right, now I'm going to give you another one. This problem is going to, let me think here. Let's do this one. Let's do 12.8 plus 27.5. Okay, so when we are solving this problem, we're going to line up our decimals. I'm going to put my decimals in first. And then I'm going to add in the number that's right before to the left of that decimal. And then if there's another number there, and then I'm going to fill in the number that's to the right of the decimal point for the first number. Add in my plus sign and do the same thing over here. So I need to add in my 7 right underneath my 2. Excuse me, because they're in the same place value. Then my 2 and my 5. And I'm going to excuse me, draw my line right underneath. And now you'll notice that we don't have to fill in any zeros. These all have the same place values. So I'm going to add 8 plus 5. That's going to give me 13. 14. Bring down my decimal point. That's the biggest thing to remember. Now I'm going to add 1 plus 2 plus 7. That's going to give me 10. Then I'm going to add 1 plus 1 plus 2, and that's going to give me 4. My answer would then be 40.3. Okay, now I'm going to have you open up to your books, your math books. Keep this aside if you need to look back at this and all your processes and rules of solving decimals, you can. And I want you to open up to page 178. 178. Down at the bottom, it has 3 problems in the got it section. We are going to work on some more practice with these by solving these 3 problems down below. So our first problem is 54.7 plus 21.4. Let's work on solving this here. So 54.7, I'm going to put on top. We're putting in my 2 decimal points here. And I'm going to fill in my 4 and my 5 and my 7 plus my 1, my 2, and my 4. 54.7 plus 21.4. Now that we have our decimal points lined up and all the numbers are matching up to their place value, we look to see if we need to add any zeros to fill our spaces, and we actually don't. So we're going to add straight down. 7 plus 4 is 11. Bring down my decimal point. 4 plus 1 is 6. And 5 plus 2 is 7. Our answer should be 76.1. Okay, now I would like you to solve B and C by yourself. If you need to refer back to your notes booklet for any practice or some notes, please do so. Otherwise, please pause this video, solve these, and I will come up with the answers for you when you are done. All right, now let's solve these. So please follow along with yours and make sure that your work and your answers over here are matching mine in the book. So we have 14.2 plus 23.5. Draw my line. I'm going to add. 2 plus 5 is 7. Bring down my decimal point. 4 plus 3 is 7. And 1 plus 2 is 3. My answer should be 37.7. And letter C, we have 17.3 plus 33.5. 3 plus 5 is 8. Bring down my decimal point. 7 plus 3 is 10. And 1 plus 1 plus 3 gives me 5. My answer should be 50.8. Okay, so hopefully you got those right. If not, take a look at how you solved your problem. Maybe you didn't line up the decimals correctly. Maybe you just added wrong. 2 plus 5, maybe you put 8 or 6 instead of 7. Double check your work, see what you did if you got these answers wrong, and if you got them right, nice job. Now these were a little easy because they only had 1 digit after the decimal point. But refer back to the examples that you had in your notes booklet to find problems that have more than 1 digit after the decimal point. All right, now your homework for tonight is going to be on page 181. And you are going to be doing the problems that are listed on this assignment for the Google Classroom. It'll be problems number 1, 2, and 3. And then you will be doing, problems number 7, 8, and 9. And then on page 183, you are going to do 18 and 19.